Okay, dear Venerable Brother, Dhamma friends, we are going to have the last Dhamma discussion of this June Kalalgoda English Medium Retreat. So we have several written reports. So we'll start the session with the written reports.
Avasarai Bhante, we have altogether 7 reports. The first and the second reports are from a very young yogi.
Right.
So I will read both because it's like everything is written mixed up. So I'll read both reports at once.
Right.
Venerable Swamin Vahansa, firstly, I would like to thank you for your sermons and teachings so far. I am immensely grateful for them. When I am doing the Sakmana or seated meditation, I always try my best to be mindful about my breath. When thoughts come up, I try to watch them without letting them in. However, at most times, even though I am being mindful, my mind feels foggy and unclear. I am quite new to this program as well as meditation. Please guide me further. At times when I sit down to meditate at my home, my mind sometimes is very scattered and I am unable to watch my thoughts at times like that. I am still a student, so since I don't have much time, I normally just engage in some other work and try and come back to meditation later on. At times like that, when my mind is too scattered, should I try and deal with the mind by sitting down to the meditation, or should I just come back to it later? Thank you. The second report, Venerable Swamin Vahansa, when doing the Sakmana, what I focus on is the feeling of the soles of my feet. With each step, I maintain my attention of the feel of the sand against my heel, ball and toes of each foot, one after the other. When I see thoughts and emotions and past incidents coming to my mind, I come to stand and stop my walking for just a second so that I can myself more clearly identify that thoughts have come up to my mind. Then when they disappear, which they mostly do, I regain my walking. Please guide me further. Also, when I am doing seated meditation, I frequently get reminded of important chores and things I have to get done immediately today. Do I first acknowledge those and write them down or something within brackets because most of them are quite important, or do I just let them go and give them no thoughts? Thank you.
Yeah, interesting. So anyway, so one thing, if you start with the last thing, if we have something assigned to us, say if there is a particular thing to do, so sometimes when we sit, again and again it comes to the mind. So that's very typical. So if you have a particular assignment, if you have a particular task to carry out, so once you sit, so those memories, so those thoughts, task-related thoughts may pop up. So that is very natural. So what you can do, as you have suggested, is one option is that you are writing down and keep it aside, and so that you are not forgetting it, you are not omitting it, but you may later attend to it. So again, mind sometimes get that object, but you need to warn yourself that I have written it down, I am not going to do it right now, I am already doing it in the future. So very much like we give a little warning to the mind, kind of a stern, advice to the mind, so not to bother right now. Because I have allocated time to that, I remember that, but don't bother me right now. Something like that. And on the other hand, when the mind is scattered, so immediately trying to recover by looking at the mind won't be useful at the beginning. Because we still don't have that capacity. So as beginners, we need certain amount of time for us to have fair amount of mindfulness. So then only we are capable of looking at the mind. So otherwise what happens is, while the mind is scattered and while the mind is distracted, if we start looking at it, so there's a higher possibility that we've been driven by the thoughts. Because still our mindfulness is not strong enough. So once the mindfulness is strong enough, once you are continuing your practice for a considerable period of time, then of course you can do it. So then it won't be a big issue. So when you feel that mind scattered or mind has distracted, you can simply step back and watch. As a result of that, mind can come back to you, or the thoughts may disappear. That will happen as you continue the practice. But at the beginning, it won't happen. So one option is that you can put your attention back to the body. So body awareness, something kind of a bodily process will be a very good option available, like you have mentioned at the last, that the walking. So you are going to the walking path and simply start walking. While your foot is touching the ground, as much as possible you are trying to keep your attention there. Again and again you are bringing your attention back to the foot, so that the distractions or the scattering may not happen. Again and again you are bringing your attention back to the body. So that is the most, I feel, appropriate way, so that you are again establishing mindfulness. Now there may be various other methods, like say you can sit and pay attention to rising and falling, because rising and falling also a fairly prominent activity happening within the body. That's also another activity that you can sit and do. And again, sometimes even before starting rising and falling, probably you can do a little bit of body scanning. From the top to bottom, you do a little bit of body scanning. So that also helps to bring your attention back to the body. Like we did today also, that guided sitting. So we do a little body scanning. So that helps actually. Then you are very much within your body. You are fairly established within yourself. Then you can recognize a subtle process like breathing or rising and falling. And then you can continue keeping that as your primary object. So these are the few things I like to share. And so just continue the practice. I mean, the practice will help you to, navigate these studies or whatever it is, because the studying fairly requires a concentrated mind. So if your mind gets distracted frequently, then you are losing the time in a way. But if your mind has the capacity to spend some time, continuously for a longer time, then you are actually improving your efficiency. So you don't need to spend hours and hours, but rather when you are spending a particular time, so you are fully with the subject. Your mind is well concentrated, your attention is fully on the subject. So as a result of that, your capacity and the memory, that also develops. The memory capacity also develops, your attention also is there, concentration is there, so you are being less distracted. So these benefits are there. Okay.
If you need to hear more, please raise your hand. You can ask Bhante whatever you want.
Right.
Report number 3. During Sakman Bhavanava, I feel the sensation of the sand and small pebbles, and I heard birds, squirrels, and vehicle sounds. But at once I often get some thoughts related to the impermanence of life. They disturb my focusing towards walk. With the thoughts of impermanency, I remember my mother who has passed away last year. Those painful thoughts disturb me from time to time, disrupting my mindfulness. How can I avoid these thoughts? Please explain.
Yeah, so rather than pushing them away, so you can allow them to pop up, allow them to come to the surface of your mind and recognize them also as thoughts. So these are memories. So rather than giving much importance to them and then being emotional about it, so if you can recognize this as a memory, so this is a memory. So it has already happened. It has 1 year has gone. Now it is a memory. So if you can recognize it as a memory, these are thoughts happen due to a certain incident happened in the past. So these are the thoughts happening with respect to the past. So if we are able to keep them in that proper position, then probably we are not giving much value to them. So they become merely thoughts. They become merely memories. But on the other hand, if we again take, the position, okay, this is my mother, she did this, she did that, I am missing her, how quickly she passed away, whatever, the memories, if you start attaching to the thought, then you again become more emotional. Then it would be more difficult. So whenever a thought happens, whenever a memory happens, so if you can recognize, okay, this is merely a memory, so simply slowly keep it aside. So this is a very common thing. It is not only unique to you, It's a very common thing, not only about the mother, maybe about any other person or any other incident. There are such incidents bothering us, troubling us, even though while we are walking or sitting, so that incident can come to the mind. But if it is a past incident, if you can remember, okay, this is a past thought, or this is they are merely thoughts which are attached to some past incident. So past incidents has already happened, but now we are having certain thoughts. So if we can keep them at their proper position, then mostly we are able to overcome them, because we are not making them so important. Rather, we are keeping them at their proper position. So I think this is one way that you can handle it. And on the other hand, there are other methods actually we can recognize. Say you are replacing your attention to something else. Say assume that there are thoughts again and again coming with respect to that past incident, and you can't immediately overcome them. You can't keep them on their proper position. And you know that if I am continuing thinking on this line, you will be in trouble. So you can shift your attention to something else. Very much like you are replacing your attention, replacing your object. So rather than thinking about that particular incident, now you are shifting to another different incident which are less harmful in a way. So something happening right now. So you are in a way replacing your thoughts. And on the other hand, you can look at, you already have thought about it some time back, say for example. You have spent fair amount of time thinking about that particular incident. So why are you again wasting your time? So we can recognize the disadvantages of thinking of the same line or thinking about the same incident again and again. It's not going to have any kind of a benefit other than crowding your mind, other than making you unhappy, sorrowful. So if we can understand these disadvantages, the harm going to happen to the mind, that is also another kind of warning, a precaution that we are giving to the mind. So the adinava sanya. So we are recognizing the adinava, we are recognizing the disadvantages of this way of thinking. So that also helps us to, calm down. It's very much like we are educating the mind. We already thought about it, we already cried about the incident. Enough is enough, something like that. So you understood that, okay, now no need. You have done that. So you went through that sorrow some time back, okay, no need to do it again and again. So likewise, that would be another method, having a good understanding about the disadvantages. And on the other hand, probably, this would be a little advanced, but you can try. If you have a fair amount of mindfulness, probably you can go step back and see the previous thought. Suppose a particular memory is going on, and you can recognize what has triggered this memory. What is the exact reason for this memory to pop up? What would be the close reason for this memory to pop up? And now you are doing kind of a backward investigation. So you are going a step back and see what I was thinking before this. And if you are able to trace that, probably you can go a step back further. What I was thinking before this. So likewise, if we can recognize the previous stages of this thinking process, then also we are cutting down the momentum. We are stopping the momentum, so that again the whole thoughts, that thinking pattern will be slowly faded away. Or else you can warn yourself. You can use some kind of a willpower that I am not going to think about it anymore. That's it. Something like that. So many methods may be available. You can use whatever is convenient. You can start from the most convenient one, but many methods are available.
Report number 4, Venerable Bhante. Bhante described yesterday that restlessness can come up as a result of attempting mindfulness. I would like to ask whether this is the same as a feeling of extreme irritability. My mindfulness meditation practice develops in odd phases. Sometimes there are phases of extreme clarity, clear mindfulness, and a pleasant feeling of lightness. During these periods, I can focus well and know that mindfulness is maintained for steady durations. But at other times, sometimes for whole days, mind feels exceedingly irritable and like it is neglecting mindfulness. It's as if whole body is in an irritation, either burning or fire or being pricked and tortured. Davenava vage is the best term I can describe it. Feels like this must be what suffering of being, bhava, must be like. Difficult to maintain any posture for more than 5 to 10 minutes. It is like mind is absolutely rebelling and rejecting with every bit of its strength. Can I know why this state arises and if there is a particular reason, Bhante? Also, what should one do on days like these where mind absolutely rejects mindfulness? It contracts a lot and is confusing because some days I can easily establish very clear mindfulness within brackets, and some days is almost impossible even to sit still. Thank you, Bhante, and may you achieve Nibbana.
Yeah, may you achieve Nibbana. So, I mean, I feel this is also a kind of a common thing, because assume that today you are doing well and everything happens smoothly, everything pretty good, and tomorrow can be a complete the opposite. So that is our life. So that's something that we need to learn. So even though we sit cross-legged and try to meditate, so the sessions are showing the same type of behavior. Say the first session, assume that if everything happens smoothly and you are able to achieve whatever your expectations, but the next session will be a utter mess, complete disappointment. It can happen. So how are we going to have kind of a evenness of the mind to both situations? So I feel that is the most important thing. So these ups and downs are inevitable in our meditative life. Today if things are pretty good, tomorrow it will be comparatively not that good. If this instance, this particular session is pretty good, the next session won't be that good. So likewise, it's a kind of a rolling kind of thing. So, I mean, the ability to withstand these situations, these two extremes, ability to sustain your attention or maintain your, say, evenness of the mind to these two extremes is in a way a kind of a maturity. It may take time. And you know that is the Thadi that we even today we discuss little bit. The Thadi guna. So Thadi is that stability within our mind. When we are going through, so remember that ups and downs are inevitable. So even the Buddha, even the Sangha, Arahants still go through the same thing, but they are capable of maintaining their mind in that middle position. Irrespective of ups and downs, vicissitudes of the life, so they are able to maintain their mind equanimously as much as possible. So that is what we need to learn through our life. So the meditation actually gives us a pretty good opportunity for that, because we set everything, everything is perfect, let me have a perfect session today, but unfortunately everything collapses. Maybe dog barks, or maybe someone come and interrupt, and as you said, right now the mind is not ready, even though everything is pretty good, but the mind is rebelling. There is no possibility of establishing mindfulness. And there may be another opportunity, but you felt that today I'm not going to work, but anyway, let me sit. Everything successful. So likewise, I mean, it's very unpredictable sometimes, and sometimes predictable also. It's kind of an ad hoc situation. And on the other hand, it shows the non-self nature. So we think that we can plan, we can arrange everything in a perfect manner. That is how we imagine. But all of a sudden, everything can go in a completely different way. So that represents the vulnerability in a way. So that's why Buddha again and again highlights, so these sankharas can never give us kind of a guarantee. So that is, I mean, through our life, through our all the different incidents, so that is what ultimately we are learning. So things are not governable. Things can go wrong. And the body health can go wrong, the society can go wrong, our environment can go wrong, our meditation can go wrong, and go to the both sides actually, to the positive or to the negative. So that's why we are, in a way, the understanding is beyond that, in a way. So knowing that these are, ups and downs, so the lesson is, you are not depending on that, but you are coming to the middle, which is beyond the ups and downs. Now, say for example, when you are observing, say feelings, as we discussed yesterday, say you are keeping your attention on the feelings. So are we expecting throughout our session the pleasurable feelings to happen? We can't. So are we trying to reject all the painful feelings during our session? So that is also impossible, because they may happen due to various causes and conditions. So what is our approach has to be? So our understanding, our approach has to be being in the middle. Either the pleasurable feelings happen, either the painful feelings happen. So you are in the middle. It is not that we are trying to only wish for the pleasurable feelings and reject the painful feelings. Rather, we are trying to be in the middle without being bothered by the pleasurable or painful. So that's a kind of a capacity that we are trying to build, isn't it? So that is the more kind of a mature approach that we have to take. Because these things are conditioned phenomena. The pleasure is a conditioned phenomena, pain is a conditioned phenomena. So without getting to those two extremes, so let me be in the middle without being distracted by the two extremes. So this is something that Buddha is highlighting, how one can take up leaving aside the conditioned. So seeing the conditionality, say by seeing the conditioned nature of the pleasurable feelings, seeing the conditioned nature of the painful feelings, so your understanding is growing beyond that. So similarly, here also, say ups and downs of the life happen by seeing their vulnerability, by seeing the impermanent nature, the non-self nature. So our understanding has to grow, which is not touching any of these. That is why it is called kind of a deathless. There is no coming and going. There is no arising and passing away. There is no, say, birth and death. Anicca vata sankhara uppadavaya dhammino. Uppajjitta nirujjanti tesang vupasamo sukho. Did I recite wrong verse? So all these sankharas, all these formations are impermanent. Anicca vata sankhara. Definitely they are impermanent. Anicca vata sankhara. Uppadavaya dhammino. So whatever arising, they are subject to pass away. That's definite. Uppadavaya dhammino. Uppajjitta nirujjanti. So if they are arising, they are subject to pass away. Uppajjitta nirujjanti. Tesang vupasamo sukho. So once the mind reaches a state which is not associating these sankharas, so that is the vupasama. So that is the kind of refuge we have. So that's the unattached nature of the mind. So that's why sometimes actually Venerable Ananda praised the Buddha. Bhante, you have found a kind of an opening in this whole samsara. Very interesting statement, that is Okasadhigamo anubuddho, something like that. So he's praising, Venerable Ananda is praising, telling the Buddha, amidst all these chaos in the whole world, you have found a kind of an opening. Unimaginable, but you found a kind of an opening in this samsara to cut off from the cycle. So we were, going through the cycle, going through the, what's that, whirlpool kind of thing? Kind of a whirlpool. We are in a whirlpool. But somehow one particle came out, something like that. Otherwise we are continuously going on and on in the cycle. So the Buddha was able to awaken and come out of the cycle, and he has shown us the path. Okay, there is an opening. There's an opening. Something like that. So I think, therefore, so all these ups and downs, what we are going through in our life, help us also to have some deeper understanding. Now that's why you know that one simile for the Buddha's attainment is what you call as a lotus flower. So when Buddha show himself as a Buddha, so he is giving himself as a lotus flower. So where the lotus flower is located? On the mud. So the muddy water is in a way giving them nutrition for the lotus flower to blossom away from the muddy water. So the same thing. So we are also dealing with the complete muddy water. So all the chaos, all the ups and downs, full chaotic world. But knowing that, okay, we have to blossom away from that muddy water. So nowadays what's really going on? Maybe say the wars, the religious problems, economic problems, political problems, and the whole society fairly corrupted. Many things are there. In a way, if we are skillful, we can understand, okay, this is the conditioned world, this is the sankhara. So rather than we trying to correct, how about getting some nutrition from that and blossoming, which is completely taking a different side in a way, not expecting kind of a satisfaction from the sankhara world, but looking at a different alternative. So actually I remember there's a very beautiful story available in the Mahasudassana Sutta in the Digha Nikaya. So in that sutta, Buddha explained what a kind of luxury he had in one of his previous life as a wheel turning monarch. He's called a Sudassana, Mahasudassana, the king Mahasudassana, wheel turning monarch. So whatever the luxury that you want, he had not just one, 84,000 of each. Maybe palaces 84,000, wives 84,000. So many things, 84,000, everything. And now being the Buddha, he is now telling to the monks, everything has gone. That's the past. So I was living in this Kusinagar, that previously, that Kusinara was one of the old kingdom of one of the wheel-turning monarch. And anyway, Buddha is telling, so all that are now the past. It has gone. And he says, Anassasika bhikkhave sabbe sankhara. So you can't find any kind of satisfaction or comfort using the sankharas, using the conditioned world, using the conditioned phenomena. Because it's so vulnerable, impermanent. You never know when the change is going to happen. So the path, therefore, Buddha encouraging is something beyond that. So anyway, things are happening, can't stop. But if we have the proper attitude, we can learn. We can get some nutrition for us to practice.
Report number 5. Walking meditation. Walking on the choir mat. Could feel the surface under feet even more distinctly due to ridges and patterns in the mats. While maintaining mindful walking, mind noted several distinct points. Point number 1, where 2 mats overlapped each other and one was coarser and rougher than the other, which felt smoother and more worn out underfoot. Point number 2, where there was a portion of the mat which was made wet by rain and felt colder and wetter underfoot. Number 3, where mat was laid over a soft rubber rug, resulting in that area felt specially soft when walking over. After a short while, after noting these, notice that mind seemed to, number 1, feel neutral when walking on usual choir mat area. Number 2, feel slightly disliking and repelled when walking on wet, damp patch area. And number 3, feel special liking and attracted when walking over soft rug area. After noting these sensations, feelings, started noting mind's anticipation of those distinct parts of the mat and a special attraction towards the sapper part even in the same choir mat. Consciously remembered Bante's sermon on pleasurable, neutral, unpleasurable sensations and tried to maintain equanimity in all 3 parts of the mat. Thank you, Bante, and if possible, would like to know why after noting pleasurable, unpleasurable distinction, mind fights to hang on to it, even after consciously noticing. Much merits, Bante.
Can you repeat the last question?
Thank you, Bante, and if possible, would like to know why after noting pleasurable, unpleasurable distinction, mind fights to hang on to it, even after consciously noticing.
Mm-hmm. Anyway, your application of Dhamma, even the yesterday's sermon, to the experience is pretty good. So that's what we need. So when we are, teaching or when we are learning, listening, so if we have the capacity to recognize something available so that you can immediately apply to your practice, that is pretty good. So you are trying that, that's really good. And on the other hand, recognizing that desire. Now, there's a little desire while walking. There's a little attachment to the more comfortable part. But there may be a little rejection to the uncomfortable part. That our mind is selective in a way. So understanding these kind of little desires we have, little prejudices we have. So that understanding is good. So that's what we need. Our mind is fairly conditioned. So we may like a particular color, we may like a particular taste. And as you said, we may like a particular pattern and maybe a little area that particularly feel like comfortable. But the body doesn't. When you can simply walk. Either it could be dry or wet, doesn't matter. But the body may simply walk. But our mind give a added value to that, isn't it? So the mind is giving more, or rather imposing kind of a value to that. So different experiences are there. Now suppose there are 3 areas in the choir mat. Maybe one part is dry, another part is wet, another part is middle. So when the body is simply walking, it is a mere experience. Different kinds of experience. But mind is imposing kind of a value judgments to these 2 areas. So we can see how tricky our mind is. Even though body can withstand all these different situations, mind is imposing kind of a different value additions to these experiences. If we can recognize that, then we can ask him to shut up and I can simply walk. So that is one thing. And even now the question, still I can't understand what you are asking. So even though you consciously recognize these different pleasurable or other, say, happy or middle kind of feelings, so the question is little hang on to that pleasurable feelings. That even though you identify it's not necessary, still mind finds it pleasurable. Still mind says it is not pleasurable or not happy. So that indicates our, even though the mere mindfulness is not enough. So even though we are mindful, but still the condition is still operating in the mind. So we are conscious about the situation, but that very consciousness, that being mindful about it, is not enough for that bias to erase from the mind. So that is the trait. So that is the tendency we have in our mind. Now say for example, now say this clock. Suppose if it is, now we have 2 clocks. Assume that one is red and one is, what is this, green. So which now suppose there are 2 clocks like this available and you want to buy a clock. Which one are you going to buy? Red or green? UNP or So why are we selecting a particular one? Now, suppose now you understood. Okay, I understood. Okay, there's a kind of a bias in me. I prefer green. Fine. So you understood that. But is that very understanding enough for you to avoid that? Next time also you go and select the same thing. So that's why we need to understand, and again we need to see how it is trying to, in a way, condition the mind. How it is trying to make you like a puppet. Its conditioning is operating within the mind so that your volition being colored by that previous conditioning. So who is taking the decision? Now we typically say, oh, I like this. So I selected this. This is my decision. So who is actually have taken the decision? So all these conditioning processes going on from our childhood and all the different advertisements, cultural conditioning, our, the family conditioning, everything is there. All are in a fight to give us a kind of an opinion. Whatever wins, we select. But we say, okay, I am the one selected, so this is the best choice. So I am trying to impose that to another person also. You should select this one. Say husband and wife is going to buy a clock. And the wife select this, and husband says, no, you should select the red one. I mean, both are wrong in a way. So all are, it is not that wife's choice or the husband's choice, but all they are the intention, that choice being conditioned by the previous, whatever the conditioning process going on in our minds. So we are operating like that. Even though we as an individual, I am representing myself as a so-called person, but the thinking process is highly conditioned, highly influenced by our previous attachments, previous experiences, cultural biases, our education, many things are there. So if we understand that, then at least to some extent we can see, okay, this is a kind of a messy thing going on. No point, I may be selecting that, doesn't matter, but it is not the ultimate. Someone else can select something else. I don't have to have any kind of an objection, because that is his conditioning. So this is my conditioning. Interesting in a way.
Hope the yogi is happy with the answer. Report number 6, walking meditation. I was walking few steps and scanned the body. I felt different sensations when foot touched the ground. I identified the tightness of the foot and same time felt the tightness of the body. When the tightness disappeared, I felt that body weight is reducing. Then I was able to identify the softness, coldness, and they also disappeared. Same cycle repeated throughout the meditation. Sitting meditation. I came for sitting meditation mindfully after the walking meditation. When I started, there are very less thoughts. Then I felt the elements like tightness, softness, tightness, softness disappeared, them same as in the walking meditation. Then I felt different feelings, pain. Then I heard sounds, felt breath, felt pain randomly. After that, body disappeared, but still I can identify very little feelings. I just felt I am in space. There is nothing around. It was happened repeatedly. When it's repeated, reduce the feelings and purified the mind. That's all.
May I know who has written that? Yeah. So here. Chandrika turning like a Chandrika. So can you explain a little bit more about the experience?
Yes, I know. The walking meditation, as I said, is first that feel the tightness that when I'm walking.
Right. While walking.
Yeah, walking. likewise that tightness building also with the body.
Right.
That after that I stand in the end of the mattress and scan the body while I stand the body. Then after that, it's a body in the body that tightness grows.
Right.
And again while I walk in the mattress, and after while I standing, I felt that I can release that.
You can release?
That
you get released?
Yeah, that release mean that
tightness disappeared.
Disappear.
Right.
Again after that weight also reduce that when
right.
that. Then when I walking that stickiness that after that while I walking that stickiness appear.
Stickiness.
Stickiness.
You mean your foot felt it?
Inner feet. Again that grow in the body. Likewise that element like the elements also that softness, coldness.
Right.
That appear in the body and release.
Right.
That way that like in the body also that.
So these different element characteristics you are able to recognize.
Recognize and reduce that, reduce in the body.
Right. Okay. So I mean, how long were you able to observe that? Throughout the session, you were observing all these.
Yeah. And end of that, I'm going to feel the pain in the body.
I didn't get you.
Pain mean that feeling.
Feeling. You felt a feeling. You felt a feeling?
Feeling in the body. After that, I stopped that one. Not completely stopped that completely, not lost that feeling.
Right.
I stopped around 1 hour.
So let me clarify. Now you were observing different element characteristics and ultimately it turned into a kind of a feeling. Yeah. And is it a painful feeling you are talking? Painful feeling. Yeah. So, and then you were observing that. Were you or not? Didn't stop.
No. This is some intentionally I observed. Let's say I scan that weight in the feet, tightness in the feet, and that I focus to tightness.
Okay, fine.
So that tightness appear in the body.
Right.
It's a little bit intentional.
Keep it. Sorry.
Little bit intentional.
Intense.
Yeah. So that
doesn't matter. So I mean, if you are able to locate your attention onto this tightness, and if you are able to understand its complete, the changes, that's good. No, it is not a single tightness now, because it's going up and down. The intensity changes. So you have observed that.
Yeah.
That whatever previously we simply name it as this is the tightness, this is the hardness, this is the softness. So likewise we simply name them. But now, when we are observing the tightness, there also we can understand certain the changes happening. The intensity-wise, it is not the same intensity we are experiencing throughout the tightness. So tightness, am I correct?
Yeah.
Okay. So now you are doing the same. I mean, just do the same thing. So likewise, so all the other sensations also, all the other whatever the element characteristics also, all the other feelings also, see how the intensity is changing, varying. So it is not the same intensity what you started that you end up with, right? So in between also there are changes, at the end also there are changes, and so do you have any control to these intensity changes?
No.
Okay. So anyway, just continue the observation. Slowly mind will understand. And we are getting some subtle details right now.
Yeah, in the sitting meditation, I am done nothing. I just sit there. The same thing appear in the body. Element, the element, all the appear. That like a cycle. That same thing appear in the body.
Right.
After that, it's focused to that. After disappearing, focus on the feeling. So at first feeling, painful feeling, pleasurable feeling.
Right.
Likewise, it focus to that. After a while ago, as I said, that body shape disappear, and like in the space that I can feel some kind of feeling in there.
Right.
I think it's not an empty space, that there are something.
But feeling is there.
Yeah.
It's not empty, but feeling is there.
Yeah.
But the body shape disappeared. Fine, good. Now, actually, that is why. So when we are, focusing our attention onto a particular very subtle phenomena, so that all the other external shapes and all things, everything discards, everything disappears. And now you are very simplified. Your attention is fairly simplified onto a single phenomena, and you simply watch that. That's pretty good. That's what we need. So, at the beginning, we are, our attention is somewhat corrupted with so many things. But later, when the attention is fairly narrowing down, and we select a particular phenomena, only that remains, everything disappears. Now it's a matter of observing this particular phenomena. Now, in your case, this is just the feeling. So how this feeling is changing, and you should know only that. That's it. And you see how it is changing or rising, passing away, whatever the way it is behaving, you simply observe. That's all you need.
But the problem is, sometimes I'm going to attach that empty areas. Okay? Is it a problem that?
No, automatically it will. Now the feeling is still available, and you see how it is, struggling or changing, or that change in behavior. So slowly, that also slowly disappears. If that disappears, what is available?
I'm afraid that it's going to samadhi or something, a samadhi state.
No, samadhi, it is a kind of a samadhi, but the thing is, this is necessary in a way. So you don't need to stop this samadhi, because this is not something that you are in a trance-like thing. Rather, you are fully aware of what is really going on, and you do a kind of a subtle investigation also. Samadhi is there, but you are continuing with your practice. Certain phenomena are there, and within the samadhi environment, the clear mindfulness, you are observing how these phenomena are changing. So their true nature you are trying to understand. So that is necessary. You don't worry about the samadhi. Now assume that this also disappear, and then just be, and just see what's next happen. Just continue. Yeah.
Report number 7. Dear Bhante, we are very grateful to you for explaining us deep Dhamma in a very understandable state and giving us support to realize the danger of bhava. However, still we are finding difficulties in understanding the simple ones. With metta to us, kindly explain us. Number 1, if a person dies at a moment when he is at a non-material jhana, will he achieve parinibbana? Or is he getting a birth at a Brahma loka? Asterisk, upekha ekatta ekatta sita. Number 2.
Wait. I have short memory.
Okay. Do you want me to repeat it?
So what he's asking is, now you are practicing and you are reaching the upekha ekatta ekatta sita, and you want to see what's going to happen. You die there. Am I correct? Who has written the question? Okay. So am I correct? Is that your question?
Correct.
Yeah. It can happen. Only thing is, if you have an attachment. So this is a question asked by Venerable Ananda from the Buddha. It's explained in the Anenjasappaya Sutta. So Buddha is explaining a very beautiful Dhamma in the Anenjasappaya Sutta with respect to some deep samadhi. So he is explaining. And now say for example, one person is achieving a particular kind of a samadhi, and while being there he has to do a type of Vipassana with respect to, currently experiencing different phenomena. It may be a feeling, it may be a perception, it may be any other intention. So he is doing such kind of a investigation. As a result of that, he can develop wisdom. So Venerable Ananda is asking, Bhante, are these yogis going to attain Nibbana? What do you think? Buddha said no. And then Venerable Ananda is asked, why? And then Buddha say, so they can have an attachment to this emptiness. They can have an attachment to even to the emptiness. So now say So the phenomena have disappeared. Now the mind has become empty. So you have some unnecessary attachment to the emptiness. So as a result of that, you may not attain the Nibbana. So that is something highlighted in that particular sutta. So this emptiness is also not for kind of an attachment. So sometimes we can have an excess attachment. I mean, I am meditating in order to attain the emptiness. So while I am in the emptiness, I want to hold it. So that is not the approach. So the emptiness is there for us to understand the defilements. So it has only a relative value. It only has a relative value. Just to recognize the defilements very, in their pristine form, in their, proper form. Because otherwise the mind is messy and cloudy, so you can't recognize the defilements properly. But when the mind is empty, so everything is very transparent, everything is possible to recognize. You can distinctly recognize each and every phenomena, whatever arising in this conscious environment, and you can see whatever the defilements arising, the sangyojanas arising, so that you can discard them, or you can overcome the mind from those sangyojanas, those bondages. So therefore the path is very much like relinquishing all the defilements, pahana, the abandoning all the defilements. So the emptiness is providing us a very good platform for that. That's all. So therefore, if a particular yogi, and that is one answer that I need to give you, that there's another side. Another thing is, even though you don't have much kind of an attachment to the emptiness, but still there are, still there are asavas and anusayas available, which you couldn't completely uproot. While you are there, assume that you die. So then what's going to happen? So since the things are still available, the asavas and the anusayas are available, so you can't say that you are going to be an arahant. Still the ingredients, pediments, or what's that? Mandi, what's the English term? Sediments, right? Still the sediments are available. So the mind is not completely pure. So as a result of that, accordingly a new birth can happen. But the new birth may be fairly based on the karma, because there is no any other influence. You are fairly maintaining some amount of pure mind, but still not completely pure. This sediments, correct? Sediments, yeah. Sediments are still available. So the asavas, anusayas are very much like sediments. So still the mind is not 100% pure. So that's explained in the one of the Cetana Sutta. Yancha bhikkave yancha ceteti yancha pakappeti yancha anuseti arammana metang hoti viññānassa titiya. Yancha ceteti yancha pakappeti yancha anuseti. So these are the three conditions Buddha shows. Yancha ceteti. So if there is a fairly gross kind of volition is available, if a gross kind of volition is available, so that is good enough for the consciousness to establish. So that is one possibility. Assume that such kind of an intention is not available. But then a pakappana, that means a proliferation is still going on, kind of an ongoing thought is there, a little bit of future plans are there, some inner chatter is there, pakappana, that is available. So Buddha says, even though you don't have a intention, a significant intention in your mind, if there is this kind of ongoing thoughts are there, that is enough for the consciousness to establish. Yancha bhikkave ceteti, yancha pakappeti. And if these two are not available, what could be available? Yancha anuseti. Latent tendencies could be available. So if the latent tendencies are available, still that is enough for the consciousness to establish. So the rebirth can happen. Not that easy. Interesting, by the way, very interesting question. Yeah.
Number 2, අවිජ්ජා නීවරණයත් තණ්හා සංයෝජනයත් නිසා කර්ම සකස් වී භවය වැඩෙන බව අසා ඇත. අවිද්‍යාව සංයෝජනයක් වශයෙන් දක්වා ඇති බැවින් එය නීවරණයක් වශයෙන්ද කියන්නේ. ඔබ වහන්සේට නිදුක් නිරෝගී වේවා වහවහ භව කතරෙන් මිදීමට හේතු සැලසේවා.
So I think in Abhidhamma there are 6 hindrances are shown. So I think the avijja is taken as a hindrance, as far as I can remember. But typically in the suttas, only 5 hindrances are taken. But when it comes to Abhidhamma, they are taking the avijja also as a nivarana. But anyway, these are different classifications. So 5 hindrances is one way of classification. And then 10 fetters is another way of classification. Then anusayas, another way of classification. All are different levels of defilements the mind associates. So avijja is kind of a root. You know the lobha mula, dosa mula and the moha mula. So the moha mula, the root cause of the ignorance, actually has some significant connection with the avijja. I don't know whether we can say avijja and the moha exactly the same. So there are maybe subtle differences when we are talking in terms of the literature, but fairly similar. So I mean, typically avijja is explained as not knowing the Four Noble Truths. So the moha, we can say that plus, say maybe scatteredness of the mind, because all the defilements have the root, has one root as moha. Say if you talk kama chanda, it has the lobha and the moha. If you get the dosa, say kind of a hateful thought, you have the dosa and the moha. So the moha is one of the core ingredient of all the defilements. Okay, so that's all we have. We had a good discussion after a long time. Okay, then we have received the sharing of merits. So today, 10th June, Saturday lunch dana, Ishanka and Hasanta offered breakfast dana. May all their Dhamma desires be fulfilled. And lunch dana, Tamara Veerasinghe, wish her good health and may her Dhamma path be free of obstacles. And then 11th June, that's today, breakfast, Dr. Dishna Ranasinghe, wish her all the very best in her future endeavors. And then lunch dana, Nilanti. Okay, Nilanti Jayatilaka, who celebrates birthday on the 14th June, and Nadisha Jayasinghe, birthday on the 17th of June. 14th June and 17th June. 3 days difference. Wish both of them good health and happiness. Okay. So that is the sharing of merits we have especially with respect to the dana. And we have, some of you have spent all these 3 days at Kalalgoda and spent fair amount of time practicing the Buddha's teaching, participated in Dhamma discussions and participated in the Dhamma sermons. And some of you have already spent time in the arranging dana and offering dana. So all these merits we wish help us to attain path fruition nibbana. And we wish these merits be shared with the celestial beings, all the past relatives and whoever in need of merits. And while keeping these good wishes in our mind, let's recite the traditional verses. Ettavataca amhehi sambatang punya sampadang sabbe deva anumodantu sabba sampatti siddhiya. Ettavataca amhehi sambatang punya sampadang sabbe bhuta anumodantu sabba sampatti siddhiya. Ettavataca amhehi sambatang punya sampadang sabbe satta anumodantu sabba sampatti siddhiya. Akasattha ca bummatta devanaga mahiddhika punyantang anumoditva chirang rakhantu sasanang. ආකාසට්ඨා ච බුම්මට්ඨා දේවානාගා මහින්దికා පුඤ්ඤන්තං අනුමෝදිත්වා චිරං රක්ඛන්තු දේශනං ආකාසට්ඨා ච බුම්මට්ඨා දේවානාගා මහින්దికා පුඤ්ඤන්තං අනුමෝදිත්වා චිරං රක්ඛන්තු මම් පරං ඉදං වෝ ඥාතේනං හෝතු සුඛිතා හොන්තු ඥාතයෝ ඉදං වෝ ඥාතේනං හෝතු සුඛිතා හොන්තු ඥාතයෝ ඉදං වෝ ඥාතේනං හෝතු සුඛිතා හොන්තු ඥාතයෝ ඉමිනා පුඤ්ඤ කම්මේන මාමේ බාල සමාගමෝ සතං සමාගමෝ හෝතු යාව නිබ්බාන පත්තියා ඉමිනා පුඤ්ඤ කම්මේන මාමේ බාල සමාගමෝ සතං සමාගමෝ හෝතු යාව නිබ්බාන පත්තියා ඉමිනා පුඤ්ඤ කම්මේන මාමේ බාල සමාගමෝ සතං සමාගමෝ හෝතු යාව නිබ්බාන පත්තියා සාදු සාදු සාදු